Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hope you're doing well. So I wanted to talk to you today about the hypnotic effects of music and why you should work hard to erase music as much as possible from your life, and how you will have less, inshallah, less mood swings, and you won't relish upon the past, and I think you'll have more anger control. So when it comes to hypnosis, what it does is it makes you highly responsive to suggestion and direction. And when you get into a certain beat, you move with it. You allow it to take your mind on this sort of mental journey. And one of the biggest things that happens to some people when they listen to sad music is they start to have all these suppressed memories pop up in their head. And this modifies their behavior, and sometimes they start to get vengeful, they start having a low self-esteem, self-doubt, even some people do self-harm. You'd be surprised how many people, when they get intoxicated and they put on a very sad song, suddenly their minds are just filled with memories that they didn't really ask for. And then suddenly they're on this roller coaster of emotions. And so when it comes to music, if you, for 1 month, let's say you're still listening to it, just go 1 month, no music at all. That means when you're on your way to work, you don't blast whatever song it is that you like. You just listen to news, something insightful, you name it, just anything else besides music. And watch your body go through withdrawals. It's almost like this distraction thing. And see how your mood stabilizes. A lot of people will wonder why certain people react to them in a negative way, and oftentimes it's because your heartbeat is almost pumping out this sounds new agey, but I don't know any other Islamic way to say it, but it's like if you listen to some very violent thug rap that's highly degenerate, and it has your body's in that zone, and then you get around people who are more still and at peace, they can feel you like coming into their area, into their aura, into their field, and you disturb it, and you become a threat, and you evoke a threat response from people. Songs with a lot of bass, like boom, 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 it moves your mind. And when you think about war drums, how they were very deep, and it's a very pounding heartbeat, and there's a rhythm to it, and it makes this entire army like march in unison. And even those who hear it, they get goosebumps. It does something physical to them. And it's hard to be thinking something positive when your adrenaline is being stimulated. What's fascinating is, especially retarded ex-Muslims, they will consistently mock this idea that music has any negative effects, while at the same time they'll turn around and say, oh, well, I listen to Vivaldi and it makes me feel really good, and I listen to Chopin after a funeral or whatever, and they talk about how it makes them feel good. So what's strange is that they'll accept that the effect of music is only good and ignore every other negative outcome. And what's even more strange is that the secular liberal atheists will mock a religious person who says, we shouldn't even have this type of music on the airways because it's affecting the youth, and it's affecting fatherless children heavily because they have a chip on their shoulder, they have all this rage inside, and this music is making them feel some type of way, and it's not a very healthy thing that's being put into their head. They'll mock that. They pump this type of degenerate, unhealthy, combative, rotten music to people, and then think it has no negative effect, but if you play classical music, suddenly it's fine and you should listen to more of it. And if it's house techno, it's fine. If it's jazz and you're grooving, that's totally normal. But really aggressive, violent music that's sexual, degenerate, talking about robbing and killing, that has no negative effect whatsoever. So music can only ever have a positive effect. And how does that make sense? Because everything has a negative side to some degree. So when you have, for example, too much water, that can cause a problem. Too much salt. You have to really examine too much cold, too much heat. But all of a sudden, secular liberal atheists will be like, no. Music that glorifies senseless violence and selling of drugs and consumption of drugs, has zero effects on the behavior of the individuals. And so, I really hope that you can try to think about letting go of music. And at first you have withdrawals, like I said, but it's so important to see more clearly and to control your emotions. There was a tweet that I'll share eventually that I screenshot where an Asian woman was saying, American music is like, I like hoes, I like butts, I like drugs. And then that's the male side, and the female side is, I like drugs, look at my butt. And it's like just pure degeneracy, right? And you have to wonder, if other cultures can really see this, then why is it that the American liberal atheist thinks it's a good idea to allow that? Now the problem is, with the atheists, they don't want a woman to be able to wear the hijab, but they want you to be your 10-year-old should have unlimited access to stuff that talks about murdering people over the most trivial issues, slinging drugs, and creating so much type of community destruction that it decimates bloodlines and generations. That's fine. But if a woman wants to wear a hijab or a niqab, that's extreme. See, that's the immorality of the secular liberal atheists. They will promote and allow artists who don't push anything of value and encourage self-indulgence that leads to self-destruction, and say that's healthy, that's good for society, we don't need to regulate that, that's freedom of expression, there's zero harm. If a woman wants to wear a niqab, a burqa, or a hijab, oh no, this is bad, you need to be liberated, you're oppressed, and you're a bad person if you don't want to be a sex object. And I find this to be quite strange. And even more proof that I think they really know what they're doing. And it's not conspiratorial. If you know that music has a hypnotic effect, and you promote artists who their target audience is people who are susceptible to brainwashing, and when they listen to it high on weed, they become very guided through this mental maze and end up feeling sicker inside because of it. And all these suppressed memories that they tried to get over are popping up, and then they're remembering things from years ago that aren't important anymore, and they relive it as if it just happened, and now their entire mood is disturbed, that makes them want to get even more high and stay in a chronic stupor, trying to run away from who they are and their memories. And the most other strange part is how the secular liberal atheists, they really do encourage this reckless, godless lifestyle. They're not even, for example, hookup culture. So, ignoring how hooking up with unlimited random people is just safe, there's no downside, it's totally cute, it's healthy. They don't see how the more risks a woman takes and the more people she interacts with and allows to mount her, and how she exchanges fluids with them and she embraces them. They're in her brain. And then if that person does an offense to her, it's worse because she shared her body with that person. And then when she goes to get high to escape that bad memory, well, she has several others in the back of her mind that are now pushed to the forefront, and now she's recognizing all these idiots she slept with. And it's just this haunted mind that she has. And she has to consistently try to outrun her mistakes and her own stupidity because she followed the liberal atheist creed of degeneracy and hookup culture. And the medicine they gave her was more drugs and more hypnotic medicine. And then when she finds an artist like Sexy Red, Cardi B, Nicki Minaj, countless others that encourage her to continue the destructive behavior, she gets high and she thinks to herself, I shouldn't even care. I need to close my heart. I have to go out there and keep screwing, and eventually I'll come out on top of one of those guys and break his heart. And then there's just this huge spiral, self-eating type of behavior. And further, another hypnotic thing that I will say is with the Christian music. Pardon me. I made a very nice hawthorn hibiscus iced tea. Oh man, so good. Mashallah. With the Christian music, I notice they have some songs about Jesus are very sexual. There's this sexual undertone, and there's this sexual relation with the female listener and the male guitarist or the guy on the drums. And then if she's a female singer, she's a tight dress, cleavage, legs showing sometimes, bare shoulders, and she has a very pretty voice, but she's singing and these men are just like, oh. So there's this sexual tension, which kind of urges people to sin and masturbate. And what's bizarre is that it's the instruments making these people feel spiritual. It's not the actual message of the religion. Because if you took out the words and kept the same beats, you would have the same effect. So if they were singing about a chicken sandwich and they had the same tones, the people would still feel spiritual. So it's not the words and the message of that religious song, but rather the instruments themselves. And the instruments confuse the people into thinking they're having a spiritual experience, when in reality they're just being sort of hypnotized and manipulated through the chords of the music. And so for me, Islam gives you a more authentic feeling of spirituality because the trickery and control traps and control mechanisms of music don't play a factor. If you could do a fun test, I don't think every child has this, but my grandpa was a drummer and my dad was a drummer, my biological grandpa, who's Native American. And I always had this ability to be musical, to catch a beat, and to be very rhythmic. Okay? And with my children, they can do it too. I can make up a song and they can catch it and know like how my voice is going to go, the pattern recognition. And with my toddler, I can just make up a song and I did a couple experiments. We just do a beat and her body will move to whatever it is that I'm saying. And it elevates the mood. And so if a toddler who can't necessarily fully understand the words can get into some type of mood because of the melodies, the notes and such, this shows you that music does have a physical effect. And so it's important for us to truly analyze, why has society stooped to love and crime so much? Why have men and women become such enemies to one another? Why has the authority of parents been broken and severed? And why do people feel less gratitude and are constantly filled with a desire for more and more and more? And why are so many people seeking drugs? If you look at... Oh, and further, pause there for a second. People will say music has no effect. Okay, what about a movie with no music? They put music into the movies because it has an effect. And if you recall old Mickey Mouse cartoons, there was no words, it was just music. Okay? And old school cartoons had tons of music. Today they have a little less, but go look through those vintage cartoons of the black and white Mickey Mouse, and you'll see how the music played a huge role in keeping you watching it. So don't pretend music has no effect. So back to my point about being, if you know that this music has such a large effect, if you're listening to violent, degenerate music and you're becoming more angry inside, or weaker, like if you're listening to music that's super sad and you're constantly staying in a mode of depression, well, that's a problem. And further, if you have music that, if I want to hit the heavy bag, I have to listen to this because it pumps me up. Well, you're not really getting in tune with your body. You're masking that connection. You should channel, bring up that energy in you to hit the heavy bag naturally, without any stimulation, without any false prodding. Do it yourself. Have a real spiritual experience without music. See how it feels. Because you'll be more in control of your memories, more able to handle your memories, instead of feeling like you're going on a roller coaster. A lot of people will smoke blunts, have a beer, later smoke a cigarette, pop a Vicodin. They have all these stimulants in their head, put on music, and then sometimes they'll only listen to 50 seconds of a song. They skip to the next one, their mood changes, and they change to a different artist, and they keep bouncing back and forth on the playlist. And it's like they're spending all this time trying to find the right song for the mood they're currently in, which is going to change in 2 minutes anyways. And so it has this really detrimental effect on you. And when it comes to studying, the music pulls you away from what you're doing. Because while you're trying to do your math, you're like, x, and divided by, and then your imagination wanders off with the music. Music stimulates your imagination, and you go into really stupid routes. And you're like, what am I going? Your mind goes on this weird adventure, not naturally. And if you have ADHD, ADD, cutting out music can really help you cope with some of those short attention span problems. Be careful what kind of music you're putting into your body if you're trying to wean yourself, because I know it's not easy. If you would have told me this when I was 18, I would have been like, what? But I'm older now. I've gone musicless for so long now that it's second nature. I don't even crave it. And when it is there in a commercial or something, I skip it. I'll watch a movie occasionally. Like in Lord of the Rings, there's a couple of music, you're like, okay. But I don't seek it out. And when I go into the grocery store and it's playing some god-awful pop song, and you're like, oh, this is nightmarish. Thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I don't have to stand there and hear this bullcrap all day that hogs all my mental space. See, we have to rethink what music is so that we can get rid of it. You have to also think about how you will be more in direct control of your moods and memories and future memories if you cut out music. There was a time in the 90s where people were like, oh, you have to have certain kind of music on before you get in the mood with your partner. And it's like, that's where R&B really came in. And there was a song like, ain't nothing wrong with a little bump and grind. And you're just like, what is going on here? And then people wonder why they commit adultery, why they lust, why they're unsatisfied with staying loyal in their relationships. You're putting music in your head that's telling you to act this evil way. And remember, a lot of liberals are into open relationships, cuckolding, abortions. These people are not moral people, heavily into sodomy. I mean, these are not spiritually pure people. They want to stay in the muck and mire. and all they can do to you is say LOL and make some smug off the cuff comment. They constantly are high, watching porn and doing degenerate things and then making fun of you for breaking free. They can't even imagine what it would be like to go without music and being alone with their thoughts. Once you cut out music, your thoughts are coming to the forefront and you can fix things and identify problems. And if you have anxiety and high cortisol and you're listening to this really aggressive music and it's pumping you up, and then you go work a cashier job, how's that going to be for you? With a chip on your shoulder attitude. Listening to music to get you pumped up to go into a job you hate, maybe you should start channeling your mental energy into something that actually builds you instead of masks the symptoms. Face what it is you need to face. If you actually were alone with your thoughts more, you could probably come up with more solutions to your problems. But putting on music, well, that's gonna guide you. You don't guide the music guides you. And that means you're not in control. Okay? So think about how you can wean it from your life. And one of the most potent examples is people who are only tough while the music is playing. A real deadly person doesn't need no damn music, I'll tell you that. What they want to do to somebody, cruel or justified, is going to happen regardless of whatever's on the radio, and that's who should be feared. People will bump threatening, bass-heavy music, thinking they're intimidating when they're really just alerting people to their presence. The truly scary one is just like that panther in the night. It's camouflaged. And you only see it when those eyes are fixed on you and it pounces within those 5 seconds. The dog that goes barking around with an angry tone is spotted by all. And music helps people to exactly know what type of mindset you are in and how they can own you or circumvent you or avoid you. It really says a lot about you. And the kind of music you listen to tells me a lot about you, because that's what you fill your head with, and you should be treated accordingly. If you listen to music that glorifies infidelity, robbery, and other terrible things, but you want me to treat you with dignity and such, that's kind of odd. You want to be feared and intimidate people, but don't like it when people treat you as the threat that you want it to be. So you're utterly confused. And that's why you have to unplug from the music. So music is a form of hypnosis. And ask yourself, why are you allowing this artist to just take over your brain? Why don't you get to know the real you by unplugging? Let me know what you think. If you'd like to join my blog and see about other things that I write, you can do so by going to www.subscribestar.com/Milahan Archive. Hope to see you there.